It's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. It is Thursday, July 30th, and I'm going to jump right into it. So we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about the schools again, as we have been for quite some time, and business in the city of Pittsfield, supporting our local businesses, and the overall business, the temperature of the business climate right now, and how things are, at least with many of the business owners I've spoke to. So I'm going to start with the schools. So the last school committee meeting, one of the things discussed was PHS. And as many of you know, we've been discussing for quite some time now the closing of schools. We did close Morningside Community School, which some people have mixed feelings on that. But at the end of the day, what is happening is our Pittsfield Public School District enrollment numbers are on a continual decline. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. If you look at the data over the past 10 or more years, but just look at the past 10 years and you can see the trend. I think last year enrollment was down 213 students from the year before. Where are we going to be this year? And I'm projecting, just based off of the data available and the trending numbers, that going into 26-27 season, we're probably going to be down another 150 to 250 students, somewhere in that range, which is going to put us down into the 4,400, possibly even high 4,300s in the entire school district enrollment numbers. So consolidating, closing schools, all that, we know that's on the table. There's more coming. Conti will be closed eventually. PHS was discussed. What do we do with PHS? And it was briefly discussed at the last school committee meeting. PHS is in dire need of help. Now, you have members of the community that are going to say, oh, no, we need to save these buildings. PHS was built to be a high school. It was never built to be this masterpiece of architecture in the middle of the city. It's had problems for a long time. It had problems when I was a student there. We did recently dump a lot of money into the heating system, putting in new boiler systems, which was incredibly expensive, in the millions. But at the end of the day, again, if these trends continue with our public school enrollment, in 3 to 4 years, we're going to be able to fit our high school population in one high school. That's where we're going to be. Now, we might have to add a small addition or something like that to Taconic, but once those numbers drop down below 4,000 and our entire public school enrollment is in the 3,000 range, I mean, what do? Do you continue to pay to leave these buildings open and put money into them that we don't have when they're going to be at, 50% or less capacity? Do you do that for the sake of having two high schools? Because here's the deal with Pittsfield. Pittsfield doesn't exist anymore without Chapter 70 and Chapter 90 funding. Pittsfield does not exist without state and federal aid. It's just that simple. People are already at their limit with taxes. We have a large senior population here. Many of the seniors paid off their homes 20, 30 years ago. And with home values constantly being reassessed with those values at record highs, and a lot of these seniors on fixed incomes, they're being taxed out of their properties. They cannot afford to stay there anymore. Between property taxes, water and sewer, they're not able to do it. And most of the seniors and most seniors want to spend the rest of their lives in their home that they worked their butts off for and bought and paid for. And since they've retired now, those home values in many cases have tripled or quadrupled. And it's taxing them out of their properties. And that's a sad scenario. I fear that this year Pittsfield will be discussing an override on Proposition 2.5 when we go into the next fiscal year, because we've already seen that. I did videos on this of what happened this past year. You had many communities in Berkshire County asking for overrides on Proposition 2.5. Some of them it went through, like Richmond did an override on Proposition 2.5. So where those tax levies were capped, they did away with that. And once you go to that trough once, they're going back. It's just a matter of time before I think they're going to try to get the voters to approve it on a statewide level and doing away with it. And Prop 2.5 went into law in, I believe, 1980. And that says they can't tax you more than 2.5%, more than a 2.5% increase from the previous year. And they can't tax you more than 2.5% of the overall. It's getting to the point, again, where now that we're seeing communities that have asked for overrides, most of them, the voters rejected it. Some of them statewide, including Richmond and Berkshire County, they approved it. So, when people say, oh, we need this, we need that, we got to keep these schools, we got to do this, and there's no money for it. As far as borrowing capacity, we already know. I mean, our auditors, Scanlon and Associates, said last year that the city was at its levy ceiling. We had about a $300,000 leeway that the city could borrow, which is nothing. So when you're talking these projects, even when you're talking about a police taking the former Morningside Community School and turning that into a new police station, for one, I think it's a horrible location for that. Government offices should be consolidated. And that's why when you have that PHS conversation, I'm one of those people who would say, well, that would make a great complex, a government complex. There is a small segment of the population that hate police, so they don't want to see any money or anything go into policing. They feel the police are the criminals and the criminals are victims of society, and that policing is part of the problem. But regardless of all that, it is a small segment of the population, but it's becoming a vocal one. But when you look at what you would need to do, because separating government buildings, like having a police station over in the Morningside area, once you start doing that, traditionally you want everything there together. You want your police station, your courts, your city hall, post office, fire station, registry of motor vehicles, everything easily accessible and next to each other to make it convenient for people who have to do business that way through these government agencies. And it's smart to keep that stuff together rather than have it all scattered out throughout the city. I think the PHS location would be ideal for something like that, because also the aesthetics of the building, the dome primarily, that a lot of people register that as an important landmark in the city, it could stay. That part could stay. I don't know how much work that building would need to make that work. But again, right now, none of that, in my opinion, is on the table, not even Morningside, turning that into the police station, because who's going to pay for it? That would have to be, the only way that's going to happen is if the federal government and the state government steps up and says, we're going to fund that for you. That's the only way that would happen. The police department is in desperate need for a new police station. They've needed one. It's been discussed my entire adult life. They've been talking about it since the 80s. When I was a kid, they were talking about that having to be, us needing a new police station then. It is completely outdated, and the building is in need of a lot of help also, like many of our buildings, like Pittsfield High School, like a lot of them. So we have issues there, infrastructure issues with government buildings. But again, I worry. I worry about where we're heading, because ultimately the Pittsfield Public School enrollment numbers are the driving force behind consolidating. And I know everybody would like to see everything stay open, and a lot of people don't like change at all in that sense. But what are you going to do? You're going to have buildings at 30% capacity, 40% capacity, and people are going to pay for it. And how are you going to pay for it? So again, watch out for a Proposition 2.5 override. That worries me that discussion is moving along quite a bit on a statewide level. So if it doesn't go through statewide or go to the ballot statewide, I see the city asking for it to be voted on in the next election. I see that very likely coming to the forefront for Pittsfield. Because we have a money problem. And next year, the next fiscal year, the state is projected to have anywhere between a $4 to $5 billion deficit. This past year, it was $1.1 or $1.2 billion deficit. Next year is going to be one of the worst years we've seen in a long time, unless something miraculous happens. So, the state doesn't necessarily have all this money to just hand out. I don't know. So on that note, moving to the business stuff, because that we'll be looking at as we get into September, end of August into September, what the Pittsfield Public School enrollment numbers are looking like will tell us a lot. So with the business stuff, I talked to a lot of business owners, and I've been hearing a lot, especially with our locally owned bars and pubs and locally owned restaurants, that business is down. Business is down. Some of them are telling me 20%, 30%, that this year has been a horrible year. That worries me because I fear we're going to see more of our locally owned restaurants having to make the tough decision of closing their doors. Some of our locally owned bars and eateries making the same decision of having to close their doors. And we've seen a lot of that. And you don't want to see more. But that industry specifically, bars, pubs, and small restaurants, there's not a big margin there. So, a couple quarters of sustaining those types of losses, they're already in trouble. And, when taxes are as high as they are, utilities are as high as they are, it hits a breaking point in that industry relatively quick. So I'll be starting my business tour, and I'm going to be starting this year like I normally do with the restaurants, because it's important. It's important to support local. And I understand everyone's strapped right now. It's tough times. So if you can go out to eat and you can spend your money locally in that industry, it's better to spend it with locally owned places, because that money stays and recirculates back into the local economy. When you shop through a franchise or something, a national brand, yes, it stays in the local economy through payroll usually, but the supplies that they order, the foods are all corporate. They usually get sent in. They're not buying from local vendors. So there's that side of it. Supporting local is one of the best things you can do for the local economy. So again, I'll be kicking that off within the next couple weeks, and I'll start with locally owned restaurants and bars and then move on to all sorts of businesses, from hardware stores to landscaping to whatever. I do as much as I can to promote all of our locally owned businesses. So I know it's a lot, but all these things are being heavily discussed right now, and we'll be talking about this in depth, definitely with the schools in depth, as soon as those enrollment numbers are there and the school season starts in a month and a half from now, or less than that, I think. Yeah, less than that. Wow, that happened quick. So anyway, that is it. Looks like the rain has stopped. Thank God. That was a lot of rain in a couple days. I'm hoping to be able to mow my lawn here in the next day or two. Right now it's waterlogged. But get out, enjoy the weather while you can, enjoy what's left of our summer while you can. We still have some, another couple months of good weather ahead of us. Enjoy it, stay positive, get involved, pay attention to things going on, get involved, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you all in the next couple days.